I'm start reading at verse 17 of that chapter, 2 Samuel chapter 5 and verse 17. Now when the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, all of the Philistines went up to search for David. And David heard of it and went down to the stronghold. And the Philistines also went and deployed themselves in the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? And the Lord said to David, Go up, for I will doubtless deliver the Philistines into your hand. So David went to Baal-perazim, and David defeated them there. And he said, The Lord has broken through my enemies before me like a breakthrough of water. Therefore he called the name of that place, Baal-perazim. The Lord has broken through my enemies before me like a breakthrough of water. I want to put a tag on this text tonight, and I want to talk about standing in need of a breakthrough. Standing in need of a breakthrough. The people of France and the people of England shared a mutual problem, because not since the Ice Age had there been a land-built connection between the two countries. What separated them was a large body of water called the English Channel. And so it was that in 1987 that they began to discuss ways as to how they could solve this problem. Somebody came up with the idea that they would build a bridge all the way from England to France. And this idea was soon scrapped. Then someone finally came up with the idea that the best way to connect these two countries was to build an underground tunnel below the English Channel. And so it was that in 1987 that the crew from England and the crew from France began digging. And they tunneled through millions of tons of rock, dirt, and debris at an average depth of 150 feet beneath the English Channel. And when the tunnel diggers from England and the tunnel diggers from France met beneath the English Channel, they had what was called a historic breakthrough. And now, for the first time since the Ice Age, they have a land-built connection between the two countries, all because of the breakthrough that took place underneath the English Channel. Now, they encountered some problems as they tunneled through to under the English Channel. They had to tunnel through dirt, rock, and debris, and they could have allowed their problems that they encountered to hinder them from reaching their breakthrough. But their breakthrough came all because they did not give up. And now they have a land-built connection between the two countries, all because of the breakthrough that took place under the English Channel. Some of you sitting here tonight, you've been praying for a breakthrough in your marriage, a breakthrough with your finances, a breakthrough with your health, a breakthrough on your job. And all because what is before you, you feel that your breakthrough will not come. But I want to tell you tonight that if you hang in there, your breakthrough is on the way. I don't know who I'm talking to tonight, but somebody came in here tonight with uplifted hands, with a smile on your face and hallelujah praises upon your lips. But if the truth were told, you're going through some struggles. You're going through some trials. You're having some problems that are too hard for you to solve. And somebody here tonight is on the edge of giving up, on the edge of throwing in the towel. Somebody has told God to stop the world and let you off because it is too difficult for you to deal with. But I want to tell you tonight that it ain't quitting time, because the fat lady in your life ain't ready to sing. It ain't quitting time, because as long as God is on the throne, he is the God who breaks through. And this point is brought out tonight in the marvelous manner of the life experiences of a man by the name of David. David found himself in a situation where he needed a divine breakthrough from God. And it is based upon his experience tonight that we discover what happens when God breaks through. And so if you don't mind tonight, I've got maybe 3-4 things that I'm going to share with you out of this text to help you to understand what happens when God breaks through. And I'm going to share those 3 or 4 things with you tonight, and then I'll take my seat. Do you mind if I share them with you on tonight? The first thing I want you to notice tonight, my brothers and sisters, is that breakthroughs come when we have a problem. Look at verse 17, if you will. It says, "Now when the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, all the Philistines went up to search for David. And David heard of it and went down to the stronghold." Now you may be asking the question tonight, what kind of problem was David facing? Well, it was not a problem that had to do with any sin in his life, because the text gives us an indication as to what was going on in David's life. And at the time of the text, my brothers and sisters, the Bible would have us to know that David's predecessor, Saul, was now dead. And David had been anointed to be king over Judah. But by the time of this text, my brothers and sisters, the household of Saul had placed themselves under the authority of David, so that David had been elevated not to just be king over Judah, which was just one tribe, but he had been elevated to be king over all of Israel, the northern and the southern kingdoms. Now, the Philistines, or the enemies of David, didn't have a problem as long as David was just king over one tribe, the tribe of Judah. But when God elevated him and expanded his borders to become king over all of Israel, that's when the enemy had a problem. And I think I need to tell somebody tonight, my brothers and sisters, that people don't mind seeing you blessed as long as your blessings don't exceed their blessings. They don't mind you driving a nice car as long as your car isn't as nice as their car is. They don't mind you living in a house as long as your house isn't as big as theirs is. They don't mind you making money as long as you don't make as much money as they do. But when your blessings exceed their blessings, that's when they have a problem. And listen, my brothers and sisters, even the rumor that you are about to be blessed will bother some folk. God elevated David to be king over all of Israel, and the enemy had a problem. And I need to tell somebody tonight that whenever there is divine elevation, There will always be demonic agitation, because Satan can't stand seeing you blessed. And even the rumor that you are about to be blessed will bother some folk. All they did was they heard it. They heard that he was about to be blessed, and they had a problem. And my brothers and sisters, I've discovered that that's just like Satan tonight, my brothers and sisters, because whatever God tries to elevate, or whatever God elevates, the devil tries to bring it down. God elevated Adam in the Garden of Eden, and the devil tried to bring him down. God elevated Joseph, and his brothers tried to bring him down. God elevated Elijah, and Ahab and that she-devil Queen Jezebel tried to bring him down. God elevated Job, and Satan tried to bring him down. God elevated Samson, and Delilah tried to bring him down. God elevated Peter, and Herod tried to bring him down. God elevated Paul, and the Judaizers tried to bring him down. And God even elevated Jesus, and the Pharisees tried to bring him down, because whatever God blesses, the devil tries to bring it down. And so if you have a problem tonight, my brothers and sisters, I want you to know that your breakthrough will come when you have a problem. But the good news is that whatever we are facing tonight, we can turn it over to Jesus, because he specializes in breaking through any problem that we face. And so the first thing that we notice tonight in this text is that breakthroughs come when you have a problem. Oh, but then there's another thing that we need to notice in this text, because not only do breakthroughs come when we have a problem, secondly, breakthroughs come when we pray. Look at verse 19. It says, "So David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? And the Lord said to David, Go up, for I will doubtless deliver the Philistines into your hand." Now, we need to understand something tonight. And what we need to understand is that David was not an amateur when it came to war. As a matter of fact, David was an experienced man of war who had led the armies of Saul into many victories. And so David knew how to fight. And anybody would think that with the kind of military resume that David had, that he would have to stop and ask God how and when to fight. But what I like about David is that he was not being presumptuous. He did not depend on his own ability. Rather, he depended on the ability of God. He knew that he could not handle this situation all by himself. And so he stopped and asked God. He said, "Shall I fight these Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hands? Is this the battle that you want me to fight?" And somebody needs to understand tonight that every battle ain't your battle. Many times we go into situations without consulting God, and we make a mess of our circumstances. And then we ask God to bless our mess. But I want to tell you that the writer of Proverbs was right when he said, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path." Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pains we bear. Oh, because we just don't carry everything to God in prayer. And that everything, my brothers and sisters, means the big things and the little things, the heavy things and the light things, the easy things and the hard things, everything to God in prayer. But you know what I've discovered, Pastor Wesley, is that we sometimes treat God like a spare tire. You know what you do with a spare tire, don't you? You use it to fix your flats. And sometimes we only call on God when we have flats in our lives. But my brothers and sisters, David was a man of prayer, and prayer was an habitual part of his lifestyle. It wasn't just an intrusion into his day. That's why when he got in trouble, when he needed God, he knew that he could call on him because this was something normal for him. And let me tell you something, my brothers and sisters, prayer ought to be a part of your lifestyle and not an intrusion into your day. Jesus said that man ought to always pray and not faint. And Paul